we would send him out to do a 10-minute unaccompanied saxophone solo. This was unheard of. Free jazz, blowing, screaming on the horn. Who does that? And of course, we had the rock audience, but also people like Ornette would come to see, largely to see Jim Pepper. I mean, I think they liked the Free Spirits, but they really were coming to see Jim Pepper. Don Cherry came, Dak DeJohnette. Anyway, he would come and he wore a Zorro hat and he had a black cape and he would dance to the Free Spirit. But they all came to see Jim Pepper. And he would come and play this 10-minute, 15-minute unaccompanied sax solo that was just blood-curdling, but at the same time, and bewildering to the rock audience. They were like, what is this, you know? But we would start the gigs with Jim Pepper unaccompanied solos, which were brilliant, just genius. Nobody had a more beautiful scream. You know, there are a lot of people when the kind of avant-garde came in that did the screaming horn. But if you have a really good ear, you can tell well, sometimes it's just plain ugly. It's just harsh. But some people would scream and it'd be like most beautiful music. And Pepper was like that. I would say Pharoah Sanders like that, Coltrane. They screamed, but it wasn't ugly. There was so much beauty in it. But the intensity was so strong that a lot of people couldn't see beyond or hear beyond the surface. See? But if you could hear beyond the surface, you'd hear the beauty of it. So I remember the first time I heard Jim Pepper, he was playing this beautiful jazz ballad. I mean, of the highest level. It could be like a Coltrane level, like kind of Coltrane in the 50s, how he would play, like that style. And I thought, man, this guy is one of the greatest saxophone players I've ever heard. I immediately recognized him. The next time I heard him playing, he was screaming like a banshee. He was playing into the corner. That's what he would do. I guess he could hear his sound, but he would play in the corner and his sound would come back. Just screaming, and at first I thought, wow, why is this guy who could play so beautiful playing like this? I didn't understand it. And then I said, oh, maybe I should listen a little more careful, because I knew he was great. And I started listening to the screaming, and I thought, oh man, there's all kinds of music in there. There's all kinds of beauty, all kinds of melodies and chords and harmonies in the screaming. So then I said, okay, you know, I better listen to all music without prejudice. And we were and will remain to the end like brothers, you know. And Jim Pepper was a visionary, a genius. For me, as I said, in the top 4 saxophone players of all time. His music will live forever. It was funny, brilliant, smart. He was really a genius at whatever he did. He was a great dancer. He was a tap dancer. He did the Native American dancing. He was a champion. They have competitions for that. He used to win that stuff. His grandfather, I think, used to lead some of the peyote chants in Oklahoma, where only Native peeps can go. And you're not supposed to record that stuff because it's for prayer, spiritual purpose, not for a commercial thing. But because Pepper was family to the grandfather, he was allowed to record some of these powwows. And from those chants, that's where he got those songs, Wichita-to and Yanaho, Wichita-to, Gimera, Oranika, Herane, Hey, Noah, Wichita. That came from his grandfather, from going to Oklahoma. Pepper had those kind of experiences. He used to go up to Alaska a lot and jump in these icy lakes with a knife between his feet and catch salmon by hand. I mean, this is not the usual jazz musician stories, which most of these cats were urban. They never could think of going in an icy lake in Alaska. Well, Pepper had that part of him too, and he was beautiful. I mean, physically beautiful, and as I say, just charming, hilarious, and his native name is Flying Eagle, and that really says it all. That was his spirit, and that would be the best way to describe his sound. He had the most beautiful sound on the saxophone of anyone I ever heard, and one note was all I need to know it's him, completely unique, original, and that's it. And all the great saxophone players that I know who knew him give it up to Jim Pepper. That includes Bert Wilson, who was a genius saxophone player who unfortunately just passed. He was supposed to be here. Dave Liebman. You ask any of these guys about Jim Pepper, they'll bow down to Jim Pepper. A lot of the new generation saxophone players don't know him. They're asleep on him. And I hope that, they get hip to him, because it would be good for them to hear somebody just with that much soul in his sound and love in his sound. It wasn't a technical thing with him. He played naturally by ear. He didn't imitate anybody. He had his own way of making the changes. It was completely unique. And a genius, a brother, a good friend, and one of a kind. I guess that's all I can say in words, because words don't describe this cat.